How's it going, guys? Welcome to the, what is this? This is a, oh, man, I'm blanking out. Alright, this is an individual heroic mode boss guide to, heroic Blade Lord Tyak. This footage is on 25 man, but, most of the stuff's adaptable to 10 man. For starters, I'd like to note, that Blade Lord is not a challenging fight. However, there's a lot of movement. So there's a lot of things that you can do to help mitigate damage lost while moving. So starting off with the spec, as this is a balanced Druid guide, you will be picking balance for your spec. You actually don't get a choice. As far as talents are concerned, because that's proper grammar. You'll be taking Wild Charge, and if you don't already know, you will be picking Incarnation and Nature's Vigil. But I hope you all knew that watching this guide. If you're on Heroic Blade Lord, chances are you do know that. And none of the other tiers matter. Don't worry about any of them. As far as glyphs go, you will be taking Glyph of Moonbeast, Glyph of Stampede, and Glyph of Stampeding Roar, even in a 10-man guild. I suggest Stampeding Roar for movement in Phase 2 for your guild. Chances are if someone dies in Phase 1 in a 10-man, you're not going to kill the boss anyways, especially if this is like your first time. You just simply won't meet in Rage. As far as bursting goes, I recommend that you take mirror images. Tanks, the way that our tanks do this anyways, it's very challenging for them to keep aggroed over the course of like the first 10 seconds. I could peel aggro off very, very easily. So I take mirror images. Maybe you don't have to. Maybe you can use a Warlock portal to drop threat. Regardless, I take mirror images, and right when I go to cast my second Starfall, I take a Warlock portal over to my over to the point in which I will be standing. Awesome. And if you're choosing not to take mirror images, I would recommend UR, that is unending resolve off a Warlock, to mitigate damage from Windstep if you do get it. Baller. So now the reason that we take Wild Charge is because it's OP. And not a lot of people know how to use it, but it is OP. Every 15 seconds we get a disengage while in Moonkin form. That is just great. Now every 30 seconds the boss spits out a mechanic at us that requires a decent amount of moving. So Wild Charge will reduce the movement needed to deal with both of these mechanics, both Unseen Strike and Blade Tempest. Alright, so every time that Blade Lord goes to swing his blade for Unseen Strike, we're assuming that you are stacked. The only reason you should not stack is because of Windstep. But it's assuming that your guild is stacked for Unseen Strike like a decent guild. When he goes to swing his blade, you will jump, let the knockback hit you, and immediately queue up a disengage. Ideally, you want to be disengaging to your spot that you need to be at for being spread out for Windstep. Hopefully that makes sense. I stack behind the boss. I'm the last person at the way back of the boss, and I'll explain that later as well. But if you're off to the side of the boss or whatever, however your guild now there is currently a bug with Unseen Strike. I don't ever think it'll be fixed, but whatever. For some reason, it causes you to not be knocked back with the rest of your raid, but you still take the damage. Disengaging here still is a DPS increase, or a mitigation of the DPS loss, rather. You'll still get back to your spot faster, and it's still a good idea to use. I don't know why this happens. It could be because of Bark Skin, because it used to make us pushback or knockback immune. Could be Alkin Frenzy, because that makes us pushback immune. I have no idea. Oh well. Now, for Blade Tempest, what I like to do is sit at the back of my raid, and once he starts pulling people, when he pulls everyone, that's when you're going to disengage, and so that way you're up in the air and you're flying really far backwards. You can pretty much just sit there and hardcast. Remember that it's still a good idea to get off instacasts if you're trying to run away from him. Turn, or rather jump, turn, instacast, then turn back and continue running away from the center death whirly pit of doom. Now that's another really big thing. There's no really good time to recast your your DPS cooldowns. Now, there are two schools of thought. Since the mechanics are like 20-30 seconds away, depending, you could pop both of them at the same time, or you can wait until after he's done an unseen strike. You're disengaging, and then immediately you pop your DPS cooldowns. And so this way that 15-20 seconds into your DPS cooldowns, you just pop CA, and then he's gonna Blade Tempest. And that's not terrible. It's really not. You're still gonna get, even if you're just Moonfire spamming, it's still gonna be really powerful because you've got all your cooldowns active. Don't underestimate Moonfire spam with Nature's Vigil, Incarnation, and CA. It's really strong. Again, if you do the disengage thing, then you can just hardcast to your heart's content through it, and if nothing else, you get off like 3 Starfalls, or at least 2. Yeah, so that's what I consider to do it. You should also be repotting at this time. Pretty much all this fight is in phase 1 is stack and spread, stack and spread, stack and spread, and you do that like 5 or 6 times, or no, more than that, whatever. Awesome. Those are pretty much all the tips that I have for phase 1. Just fishing Star Surge procs for movement, refreshing your dots during movement, whatnot. You really need to get good at that disengage thing. That's my opinion. You guys can take that however you want, but I enjoy using that. Also, it's fun to see a Moonkin flying backwards. As far as phase 2 goes, you absolutely, in my opinion, have to take Glyph of Stampeding Roar, because that way it will hit your whole raid, unless you're stacking and tranking. Which, by the way, when you land on the ground, you should be tranking if you're not tranking when you get to the other side. Just help your healers out. It does a lot of damage on Heroic. It brings you down to like 30%. Terrible. If you're an engineer, pop Nitro Boots to get to the other side. Pray that it doesn't backfire. Awesome. Stuff you could be doing is using your self-heal macro, your instacast healing touch macro, pop a health stone, keep rejuve up. I tend to pop rejuve once I start running, even though I'm at full health. It's rejuve is more than a health stone, guys. A whole duration of rejuve is more than 20% of your health. Pop it. If you're a Worgen, pop Dark Flight, pop Dash. You're a Druid, you have it. Now, if you do pop Dark Flight and then another Druid pops Stampeding Roar, they stack. But this is the only way that these two abilities can stack. After you've hit the boss, when he hits 11.5%, about that, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, depending on your guild's DPS, hop in the slipstream to your left or right, and just book it to the other side. There's nothing wrong with saving a DPS cooldown, or not a DPS, a movement speed cooldown for this here, but make sure that you are running with the slipstream, you're not just standing in it. So, yeah. Well, guys, that's pretty much all I've got for this fight. I really hope you will something. I hope you take away something from this. I enjoy my disengaged strat, and I hope you all do as well. Just leave a comment, rate, subscribe. Don't do anything. I don't care. Call me fat. I'm pretty impartial to being called fat on the internet. I don't consider myself fat, but I could be compared to other people. Oh, and if you are going to use disengage, don't be a baddie.